Peace. Jamil Muhammad, assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. How are you, sir? How you doing? Peace and love. That just brought such a big smile on my face to see you in the chat. What's good? How you doing? How y'all doing? I am trying to give it a second and let some of you guys start trickling in. I love walking with you, Zaza. That's what's up. I enjoy doing this too. So I'm gonna give it a second, and in the meantime, just give you guys a little perspective on my environment. I'm currently in the Hollywood Hills, on the border of Hollywood Hills and Studio City. But if I put Studio City in the title, it doesn't sound as sexy, obviously. But I don't know where the line it gets crossed in terms of Studio City and Hollywood Hills. So in my mind, we're still in the Hollywood Hills, unless I get some more pertinent information in the meantime. So I'm walking down a hill. I've never walked in this area before. I drive through here all the time. I try to find particular routes where I don't have to walk up the hill so I'm not out of breath. So I'm gonna try to avoid that. But yeah, I wanted you guys to get a feel and a visual of how beautiful it is. Obviously, all these different places we are sort of traveling and exploring are in the Los Angeles area. Let me step to the side here so I don't get hit and see what's going on with you guys in the chat room. I forgot to announce on Instagram and Facebook that I'm live. I'm gonna do that in just a second. Let's see. Jay, what's good? Assalamu alaikum, brother La. How you doing? Hard to walk in red gator boots, ain't it? Actually, right now I'm wearing gray New Balance, just for context. But yes, it absolutely is. Jay said, beautiful scenery, absolutely, and the beautiful homes in this area too. I'm going to try to bring all of that to life on my iPhone camera, and then as always, be mindful of my surroundings, because this is the Laurel Canyon connection, I'll call it, but it's a specific driving route that you can use to avoid cut through the canyon and avoid having to go through Highway 101 or any of the other highways or main streets for that matter, which if you're familiar with LA, then you know the traffic situation is a real situation, on the weekends too. I actually was planning today to go to Manhattan Beach and do a walk with me from Manhattan Beach. It's been a minute, months actually, maybe even since the beginning of this year, since I've been to the beach, which definitely is not acceptable. I am very keen on, especially living in Atlanta for 5 years and almost 5 years, and then coming back to California and realizing how when you're from here, you kind of take it for granted, that there's a beach within 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And so there's like 100 beaches within 15 or 20 minutes. Well, again, traffic, but there's 100 beaches within a 4 or 5 mile radius from where I am. And so sometimes I feel lonely for the beach. I know that probably sounds corny, but because I love the frequency and the energy of the water so much, and because I spent so much time there, in the first 2 years that I was in LA, I was going to the beach and walking probably at least 3 times a week at a certain point. And I was exploring different beaches along the South Bay. So I wasn't doing Walk With Me at that point. I wish I had been, because I would have gotten some great footage. But the next one, I promise, will be one of the local beaches. This street that I'm walking on right now, I believe, is a dead end, but it's all good because it's a flat street. So I have to take advantage of that as I am walking in this area, because again, I didn't map out any particular route. I'm trying to avoid going uphill so that I'm not talking to you guys and trying to catch my breath at the same time. That's not good TV, I have a couple of things I want to talk about, but nothing in particular. I tried to jot down some notes when I was just at Sun Cafe before I came here. Really, really good vegan spot in Studio City. I tried to jot down some notes and it was just like, let's just talk about whatever. tap in with you guys in the chat room, talk about some trending topics. And one particular thing that I did write down, which was inspired by a conversation I had earlier today, a consultation with one of the ladies in my Climbing the Ladder of Yourself groups. It came to me, let me stop and catch my breath. You know, when we talk about to-do lists, right, in terms of day-to-day basis or 5-year plan, 10-year plan, things like that, I said, what is on your soul's to-do list? And when I said it, you know, I had to be theatrical and dramatic with it. So, because it was a powerful sentiment, right? You know, bars and all of that. But yeah, what's on your soul's to-do list? What are the things that really make you feel alive, really make you feel tapped in, really make you feel powerful? As I always say and will continue to say in terms of my platform and my message, what's the point of any of this if it's not elevating and empowering your personal power? You know? So let me stop this for a second and tap in with you guys. In the chat room, you see all this beautiful greenery. Again, I'm in the Hollywood Hills area. Shout out to everybody just now tuning in. Probably have to be a little bit more consistent with stopping and catching my breath because I think I'm still at an incline. There's no reason for me to be walking on a flat street and be breathing and out of breath, right? Peace, Royce. How you doing? All right, cool. So what's on your soul's to-do list? And I think that right now, I know that right now, when it comes to the spiritual warfare that is among us, and hopefully we can really, really see the spiritual warfare that is among us. I'm seeing so many news situations, news stories about parents killing their children. I've seen like 4 different stories, and I save these things as they come to my attention because, you know, it's something that I might cover on headline news episode or something I just want to be mindful of. And so I went back like, wait a minute, is this the 4th one? Yeah, it's like 4 different situations in the United States where parents have taken their children out. And I'm really curious, and I know we don't have the technology, at least not yet, at least not that we know of, to start measuring and quantifying what I'm about to say. And I hope this doesn't make any of you guys feel some type of way that are either watching or that are going to watch this later. But I am really curious to know how many of the people that are actively unraveling and playing Major Agent Smith in NPC positions have taken that shot. So going back to the point of spiritual warfare and even the scientific connection of it, which I have been so adamantly and seriously trying to bring to our attention in talking about and researching and writing about the white lines in the sky and the technology that can be found within them, which we later found out is a technology that's within the shots. It's also the technology that was laced in some of the blue and white facial coverings. It was also found to be in the nasal swabs, aka Paul, Charlie, Roberto tests. There is a different level of, just like I say, Donald Trump has activated all of the race soldiers, right? I mean, you know, the descendants of the Klan of yesteryear have now all of a sudden come back to light. I'm pretty sure the statistics of them, you know, those Bible thumpers and Trumpers that have also taken that shot is very high as well. So those of us that are operating in, you know, within this matrix system, who are striving to be righteous and striving to maintain and radiate and embody the light of the true and living God, which is most definitely what I'm here for, we have to be very focused and very intentional and very mindful about raising our vibration and becoming lighter in our affairs. That might not be a grammatically correct sentence, but I'm saying lighter to emphasize whatever level of consciousness you're at, whatever level of awareness you're at, right? Whatever the condition of your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health, like we need to continuously be elevating ourselves in those regards. Because that's the real work. And that's been the real trial for those ones among us who know who we are. That's why I don't argue. I argue with people about who the chosen people of God are, or who the people of God are. You got to earn that shit. People will just be throwing that language and those words and those concepts around because, number one, there's some validity and proof in terms of scriptures, in terms of religion, right? In terms of theology and history, absolutely. But the universe expands and creates forward. So there is a spoken and unspoken, a known and an unknown understanding of our role and responsibility, right? Our duty, if you will, to expand and to create and to ignite and maintain a certain type of frequency while we're on this planet. You know what I mean? Because we got beautiful brothers and sisters, original people, whether it's Native Americans, Native Black Americans, Native Africans, all of the original family. I don't know how y'all got these people out here, got y'all fighting and arguing amongst Black people in America and Africans. I just think that is the silliest shit ever. So many battles to fight. You choose that one. Interesting. So many places you could be placing your time and your energy and your attention, and you chose that. Okay. So again, there is a level of accountability, a level of self-awareness, and a level of responsibility that has to be acknowledged and accepted and embodied for the quote unquote people or children of the Most High God. That's why I don't throw that term God and Goddess and King and Queen. I don't really throw that around too lightly. I used to use it as a rule of thumb. Right? You want to speak to a person to elevate them to the space that you would like for them to aspire to. And when I was in the state of mind, that was the right state of mind to be in, right? But now it's like, nah, you kind of got to earn that though. You could be, big brother or big sis or, brother or sister, right? But I feel like these titles and, these different states of mind and consciousness have to be earned because we're getting really, really, I won't even say we've already passed a certain threshold. Like the ignorance and darkness in the minds and hearts of so many is on full display right now. Hopefully we're all clear on that. Sometimes all of the content that I save for headline news, once I might have stuff saved on Facebook, saved on Instagram, YouTube, etc. So once I sit down to actually start combing through this stuff, okay, this is something to explore. Nah, this is a little too much. But by the time I sit down and actually really look through what's going on in the minds and hearts of humanity, right? And have to be mindful as a mother with a child in this world. This is a nice home. I say child, but my son is a young man, a young king. Let's make sure proper context. That's a nice home up there too. I really want to walk up this hill. Let me see how. I really want to walk up this hill and make a right here. If you guys can bear with me, I'll walk slow and I'll pause in the meantime because that street to the right is a really beautiful street. Normally I would be power walking through these areas, and being very intentional with my breathing while at the same time like basking in and appreciating the sun. I'm still doing all of that now, but I'm not really in power walking mode. So going back to the point, or one of the points, being conditional right now about alchemizing the circumstances of our individual lives, right? Oh, this is a nice home. Just do a quick panorama so I can catch my breath. I have a very beautiful connection and relationship with the color of green in nature. It's not my favorite color, but I notice when I'm outside or when I'm looking out a window, like I can feel a strong energetic resonance when I see and experience all of these different hues of green. And I think trees and you know, which a bush would be considered a tree, right? It's a perfect example of the endless abundance that is surrounding us. This tree right here alone, and that's a beautiful tree. I wonder what kind it is. Almost looks like bamboo. That tree probably has, I don't know what, 500,000 leaves? Could you even count it? Is it even countable? And not to mention the roots growing down through the ground, right? So this is like a natural, nature-based representation of, in my father's house, there are many mansions. Right? So same way I say I would never be sitting around arguing about black people versus African people when we were all created by the Most High and we're all part of the original family and we're all operating either with the knowledge of the superpowers of melanin and the history that we've all kind of come through, or we're not. You know what I mean? A nigga is dangerous, whether he's from America or whether he's wearing a kente cloth. I don't know. I don't really have a strong discrimination against either, you know, or I'm not particular to either. This is a war between light and dark. This is a war about, you know, that comedic. Okay, let me catch my breath. Ma'at is where I'm going with this. This is a really pretty house. I know I've said that 3 times, but I'm a nerd for a geek for architecture, y'all. So just, you know, just bear with me. Yeah, this is the street. I think this is the street. It better not be the one. Okay, my eye. Hold on. Let me catch my breath. The concept of being able to weigh your heart on a scale next to a feather. You know what I mean? Like, my tribe is probably talking about that. My tribe is probably, you know, conceptualizing and thinking about and breaking down the concept of that concept. You know what I mean? Like, the things that we sit around and argue about and focus on right now are just so fascinating to me. The programs are working very well. How can you call yourself my favorite antagonist and then say peace? Your language needs work. You know what I mean? Your what is the word I'm looking for? Your language needs work. You need to step your game up in that department. You know what I mean? Because you should never want to be my favorite antagonist. That's not that bar is way too low. Again, you could have said anything and you said that. Peace, family. I'm looking through the chat now. Yes, light body, facts. Peace, Corey. Israel was made God's chosen people. They didn't ask for it. God told Abraham. That's a level of consciousness. You know what I mean? There's a physical counterpart to this and a spiritual counterpart to this. That is an aspect of the story, but that God's chosen people is an active, that language is active. Those books are active, those scriptures are living words, right? So in order to embody and become in alignment with the intention behind those living words, you have to be living that. You have to express that. You have to embody that. You know what I'm saying? Like, God has high standards. The Most High, Jehovah, the all in all, the Elohim, the ancestors, the universe, the all in all, the Most High, the Neteru, the Orishas, all of the above. They have high standards. You know what I mean? So this is, on a level, this is about land. On a certain level and state of consciousness, this is about land. On a higher level and higher state of consciousness, this is about frequency and vibration. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because over the years, in so many different ways, people have, in you know, with good intentions and not, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's always this, I'm tired of talking about the problems, what's the solution, right? And unable to produce solutions, that's one aspect of it, right? Just asking for the solution without providing the solutions. That's why I say we become mentally and spiritually very mediocre. We're not striving to be great in those regards. We're not striving to be, you know, seekers of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's why I'd be so bored with most of this shit on YouTube. There's a gazillion, a billion videos on Diddy. We done made porn stars celebrities now. I mean, make it make sense. You gotta earn it. What program are we speaking of, please? I know you're being funny. I'm being funny too. Haha. I got jokes. You should know that by now. The amount of ancestors it took for the healthy, conscious minds to be here. Nakaima. So funny and deep. Yeah, that's real. What programs are we speaking, please? Can you contextualize that question a little bit more for me? Because I know I'm talking fast and, you know, give me a little bit more context on that so I can answer that appropriately. But God is Zaza, if you want tug of war, I'm your Huckleberry. No, I'm not prepping my sword for Huckleberry. You know what I mean? I'm prepping my sword for Pfizer. I shouldn't have said that. That's gonna take me off the algorithm. The algorithms are gonna be on my head now. But I'm just saying, just for context to make sure we're all clear here. I'm aiming for the top of the pyramid. And the only real way to aim for the top of the pyramid is through your vibrational resonance, the perspective and expectations that you deem what you want to be active in your life. Like I said, the words in the scriptures is living, breathing. You know, that's why I don't discount anybody's religion. Because if you believe in anything strong enough, you will activate it and give it the power that you're seeking the power from that thing. This is what's so ironic about it. We're seeking the power from that thing or those things. And really we are what actually actualizes and activates the power. But you got to be in a certain state of awareness and consciousness for that to be made manifest. I'm waiting for you to give me a little bit more context on your question and I can answer it directly. Somebody asked the question, what, in the chat room? That's like 4 letters. So I'll swing those 4 letters back to you. What? On my Mean Girls, Alicia Silverstone, you know, type vibes. The living word and the breathing word and embodying that. Because God has high standards. This is one of the things that I find so empowering and so teaching and telling when I'm in these type of neighborhoods, right? And pardon me, you guys, my hand is unsteady, so hang on. Let me switch hands here. Okay. Give my left hand a rest. Peace, peace. Figured I'd get out and take a walk with you. See, that's magnifying the frequency and the energy right there, you know? And, oh, this is what I was going to say. These beautiful homes that have been carved into these mountains and into these rocks and, you know, beachside and all the different reflections of beautiful architecture that are all around me right now, in my opinion, are still a reflection of the God and the creativity of the Most High. This is why, you know, in this culture now where everybody is beating you over the head about learning about artificial intelligence and, you know, trying to pass the buck on the creative process, right? The learning process of being a human being, asking for, you know, chat GPT and these different bots for information on God, the Most High. Trying to skip the stages of trial and error and learning and, you know, figuring it out and writer's block and, you know, having to go out into nature and into the world and study people and study, you know, the surroundings in order to be inspired to create. We're just trying to skip the steps. And now making the help of God. I don't understand. Again, I'm not, you know, I always have to say I'm not anti-AI or anti-technology because people interpret my positions that way. But that's just because they're not, you know, comfortable with dealing with the totality of the situation. They only want to talk about the part that benefits them. And I'm not mad at that. But that doesn't negate, you know, how I feel about, not just how I feel, forget how I feel, you know, the information, the data, all these ongoing, I talked about the report in the last one about people's cognitive thinking and ability to, you know, retain information and have, you know, young people's ability to have conversations with other human beings, you know, looking people in the eye and the face-to-face dialogue. I mean, that's another sort of reflection of that the energetic resonance of the human relationship, the physical touch. If somebody physically touches you, and assuming this is a righteous person, right? We're not talking about somebody with a wicked spirit touching you, because if you are enlightened, or if you have self-awareness, then you should be able to pick up on that energy immediately. But the profound, I know I've talked about that story before about the rabbits. They did the study and they were giving them a high fat, very bad type of diet for rabbits. And at the same time, they split them into groups. And one of the groups who was eating the same type of, high cholesterol, bad food that's not for rabbits, their bodies were building an immunity and were still able to flourish at a high level, despite the fact that they were eating food that normally after a certain amount of time would kill them. And this is because one of the doctors in the study at nighttime was showing care and compassion and caressing the rabbits, you know, and showing them attention and talking to them and you know, and connecting with them. So the physical touch aspect is critical, you know. So I'm okay with respecting and understanding the power and the dopeness of technology. I mean, I'm using it right now. You know what I mean? Some people are going to get a notification in the algorithm of this video because of however artificial intelligence has studied their digital footprints and then studied mine, and so, you know, there's a meeting of the mind, so to speak, in that regard. I'm not mad at the technology. I'm just like, you know, if humanity was highly desensitized and neutralized already in terms of their power, and, you know, I'll say many, I want to say majority, but that's not my position to say, but I think we would all probably agree. Many of the people that are among us are operating and living in their lower nature most of the time, right? And depression is at an all-time high. Anxiety is at an all-time high. I don't know if you guys have seen the images of the recent images and videos of what's happening over in the Middle East. People standing outside with pots and waiting for scraps to be handed to them, and babies with, you know what I mean, emaciated, looking like they haven't eaten a meal in a year. And they're showing this on the New York Times and CNN, and we're all just kind of watching it and totally neutralized. I don't ever want to get neutralized to the suffering of other people. I have said that many times in my prayers. Please don't ever let me become one of those people that's so, you know, that is so leaning too far in any regard, even spiritually, that becomes normal to me. I appreciate you, Mac Man. I jogged 16 miles in the past 6 days. Beautiful. Sometimes shaky hands, clear heart and mind. Steady hand, foggy heart, foggy mind. Shaky is good sometimes. Facts. Spoken like a true yogi. Okay? That's some real high vibration yogi type, you know, language. I received that. Peace to the God, Shek and Ra. How you doing, my brother? Paul R. Williams was a great architect, for sure. Your anti-antagonist intelligence. Facts. We are literally taking digital walks together across global simultaneously. Hillside ready for a fire. Nah, it ain't gonna be no fire anywhere I'm at. I'm walking with the sun. You know what I mean? So we ain't bringing no fire that's gonna bring harm to nobody in this area. We bringing light and wisdom. And I know you don't mean that to me personally, but since it's my platform, I gotta make sure we clean that language up. You know what I mean? Because this is a magnitude of a certain mindset. This is a dead end, you guys, but I want to walk and get a little bit closer to this hillside so we can tap in with some of these beautiful mansions here on this street and in this upper hill. It's a little bit of an incline, so bear with me. In terms of my breathing, I really need to slow down because everything in me wants to like fully just, you know, go full throttle and power my way up here. But again, you know, sometimes the yin frequency and the yin energy is the best way to go. The synthetic war on organic life. That's why you could never, as a keeper of knowledge and as an alchemist and a transmuter of knowledge, you could never make me feel insecure about being a writer or about how technology is going to replace me. I rebuke that shit in the name of the Most High. How dare you even try to cast that type of spell on me? Or anybody I love for that matter. You know what I mean? Like even the people who think that they saying some powerful shit be saying some very low vibration, wrapped in, you know, whatever science is the order of the day. But I'm just saying, we're way too sloppy and way too loose with the way we use our words. If we, you know, quick to cite the studies showing the impact of language on water, and how if you speak negatively over some water or you speak negatively over some plants, it's a million videos on social media doing those experiments in different ways, proving the power of words. And now you're going to turn around and tell 8 billion people or 7 point whatever billion it is now that they're not going to have any value or any worth in 10 years unless they submit to the system that you yourself are submitting to? I beg your pardon. I don't understand it. But you know, like I had a conversation earlier in my consultation where she was talking about the life intention being to serve the divine. And I ain't saying that on no type of religious, limited perspective. In my opinion, serving the divine means mastering self. Let me catch my breath, y'all. Just take in the flowers and the beautiful, beautiful view. I went ahead and picked up the pace because, you know what I mean? I move with quick, fast, and, what the FOI say, down to the modern time. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just naturally move with pep in my step. You know what I mean? Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Hey Z, where are you going for your next vacation? Probably somewhere in the mountains. Well, see, I have two places I want to go. I need to get back to Sedona because I need to go there, leave the beach and go to the mountains. But then I also really want to go to Costa Rica and do a sojourn there for like 30 days and just travel across the country and really do a in-depth, I'll say analysis, but that's too nerdy, Sometimes I could lean a little too far to the nerd in me. To build and to solidify and to magnify my relationship and experience with the Most High through nature, though. And because of the, vast, expansive amount of nature, my particular, the mountains and the ocean and the, the wildlife and all of the plant life and all of those things, like that place has been calling me. But then, so has Machu Picchu in Peru. So wherever I end up next, I'm definitely going to be doing the Walk With Me videos because, again, it's me being able to like really magnify and transmute the energy of the environment and what I'm experiencing, and then, let you guys experience that as well. Can I have top fan? I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. Heaven, oh sister. Peace, Bobby. How you doing? You all need to donate for her sharing time. I mean, I do appreciate the love. My Cash App is in the description. The super chats are very much welcome. I agree, mastering self is serving the divine. Yes, for sure. Or visit the 3,500-year-old city in Peru that got unveiled. Nobody's talking about. I think I saw that as well. Okay, you lost me at Machu Picchu. You don't know about Machu Picchu? You slipping. I said that in the most loving and respectful way, of course. No, man, I've been mesmerized and in love with Machu Picchu for a long time, but I've been mesmerized and in love with Kemet, particularly Hepsis Temple. That's somewhere else I want to visit. And seeing the response that I get from these Walk With Me videos really kind of, emboldens or really, it just makes my my desire in my travels to, again, go out and really study, the soul of the universe, the soul of the world. That was one of the most poignant things in The Alchemist, that concept of the soul of the universe. Because remember, I started off with your soul's to-do list, right? Don't let me forget that, y'all, because I'm all over the place. But considering that the soul the universe has a soul, the world has a soul. So there are no chance encounters, there are no random experiences. Really, on a spiritual level, there are no victims, but it takes a certain level of spiritual bandwidth to be able to process that, right? It makes sense when you understand that we're infinite conscious beings, but getting to that point is more important than, trying to be right about what happens when you die and all of that. I like to focus on the things, again, that magnify people's personal power. One thing that I notice is like we become so splintered in our collective consciousness, where it's like the ping pong ball effect, right? Where it's, once you shoot the ping pong ball up and it just starts bouncing off all of the walls and you really don't know where it's gonna go, right? You can only be so good at ping pong. You can have a strategy, you know what I mean? And some people can be good, but like when you release that ball, you really kind of don't know where it's gonna go unless you get the timing of the, hitting the button and that flip right on time. And I never really had time to get into it like that. Pac-Man, Zelda, those were my things, Mario Brothers, etc. But Pac-Man as far as, arcade games. And arcade games is another reason why I think that the physical technology world is going to make a real serious comeback. It already is with what's it called? With vinyl albums, right? That's $1 billion industry now. And 30, 40 years ago, people were saying that that was the end of albums and records and the need for record players. Now you go on Amazon and search for a record player and there's like 1,000 different options. You can buy a cheap knockoff or you can buy one that's gonna stand the test of time. So I think that the physical technology, meaning I said that because of the Atari and the Pac-Man games, but then you have the music aspect, right? What was I watching the other day? I think it was about the clips. It was something, but my mind went down the path of what would happen if, because I know what it takes to create DVDs and CDs. I've made them before, right? You just got to have the actual physical DVD or CD to be able to, put the music on or put the video on, right? So why couldn't we could say a Jay-Z or any of the major, but I don't even want to make it about them. A Nipsey Hussle or a future Nipsey Hussle or a future Clips or a future whatever. Why can't they just start remaking CDs? That would be the flyest shit ever. And then you spark another, revolution of people buying CD players. And then you get on top of it and start making CD players so that when the demand starts to really kick in, you can fulfill both ends of the spectrum. Why can't we? Who says we can't? Especially if you got a niche audience. That's it's not an ancient technology, obviously, but it's a physical technology that was way, 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 way more beneficial to the artist, to the creator, to the writer. Me producing physical books is way more beneficial for me than the ebook versions. It's good to have the ebooks, to have access, but let's be clear. I like physical books. Drama Queen channel, is it? You see what I'm saying? Let me see. Peace, Hitman. I appreciate you, King. Much love. I ain't said nothing. That's Drama Queen. I'm only speaking life into, the ethers, into the element. If the frequency is too high for you, if the bar is too high for you, then don't say anything. Just politely excuse yourself. It's okay. You know what I mean? The antagonist actually helps or forces the protagonist, you, to develop, make choices, and ultimately resolve the conflict, providing a satisfactory story for the reader or viewer via Google. I mean, I don't write fiction books. I write, my books are based on things that actually happen, data, research, and whatnot. So I don't have a need for a created protagonist and a created antagonist. This is real, true life story. So I'm just shining a light on the antagonist. I don't need him to exist. He's parasitic in nature. He needs me to exist. I don't need him to exist. You know what I mean? So I like the way you I know you like trying to get under my skin, so I indulge you from time to time. It's all good. But you're going to have to step your game up in terms of your science if that's your modus operandi in dealing with me. I think I should go down. Let's do that. I'm going to make my way down and then I'll just climb back up the hill for the sake to take one for the team. So thank you guys very much for the super chats. go and treat myself to a nice acai bowl or a smoothie or a nice green juice or something, you know, to help to alkalize it, electrify, you know what I mean? The whole process that's happening right now with the sun and the, you know, beaming through my eyes as well as in my skin, increasing the melanin factor, activating the melanin, you know what I mean? Electrifying my mental. So thank you guys for supporting me in that regard. It means a lot, you know? One thing I do notice in LA, you know, a difference in Atlanta, and it could definitely be, I know the weather plays a part of it, but you see people walking out here everywhere, all the time. This is a very physically, you know, cognizant environment. This is a beautiful home right here too, with that beautiful I was about to say pyramid. I mean, tell me that's not like a picturesque type of vibe right there. And it's like 80 degrees right now, so it's perfect. So you have your windows open, you got your little patio right there, right? You know, keep the doors open, have a nice breeze flowing through. Come step outside the patio and salute the palm tree just for, you know what I mean? How beautiful and like mathematically precise it is, you know? Ain't nobody sweating, Michael, Jay, but I appreciate you. You know what I mean? It's all good, I promise you. I'm in Cali right now, I'm in LA. I'm in the Hollywood Hills, actually. It's in the description, right? It should be. So your soul's to-do list, you know? What that spiritual awareness looking like? You know what I mean? What that mental prowess looking like? Another thing, you guys, going back to, I'm gonna do a video about this because one of my members asked me to do a video about this. It just can't dawn on me because I was talking about the Black versus African, that whole little weird ass sentiment, another program. There was a post on Facebook, and then later saw it on Instagram, where it was this alleged African woman. I don't even know who wrote this. They just had a picture attached to it, right? But she was, if the, you know, her writing was true to form, then she was basically saying that she was an African woman who came here and has developed a high level of disrespect for Black people in America, Black men in particular in America, and how they're not this and they're not that. And, you know, I thought Black men were this. I mean, like, just totally went on this whole, you know, diatribe about why Black men are supposed to be standing up for African women. And I'm emphasizing African women because she emphasized that she was an African woman. And the question that I have to ask, and I would even, you know, this would cover Black women in America too, but just for the sake of her conversation, why would any Black man in America want to protect you with that type of mentality? And how is it possible that you could go on a whole diatribe and talk about a man protecting you, any man protecting you, and not start with your people first? I'm confused. Did I miss something? So she might have been from Kenya, or, you know, I don't care. The actual place she was, it kind of escapes me. I have it saved. I'm going to do a separate video, you know, but I was just so flabbergasted by the audacity that I saved it, and I left the comment and said, because she said, I welcome all YouTubers, anybody who got something to say about it. Okay, I have something to say. You know what I mean? Why would any man in his right mind be trying to go to bat for a woman who has, in language and in energy and in mentality, declared herself as his enemy? Please make it make sense. I stopped here because this is a nice yard, you know? Beautiful. And I'm not saying that to negate the natural sort of responsibility for men to protect and take care of women. No, that goes without saying. That's to be the issue that we have a lot of times. This is the gap in the communication, because we don't know how to focus on one subject at a time. So one subject at a time. I know I got to say that for the people that are going to watch this later, and I say one little thing and then they snag on that and then they completely just ignore everything else I said. I know it must be hard being an NPC. You know what I mean? I never actually sat back and just pondered what your life must be like, but I'm sure it's challenging, difficult to think outside the box and whatnot. I would say I'm here to help you, but it's a program, so not sure how much impact I could have. But this air and this nasty spirit and this anti-Black America sentiment, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, no, and again, I started off with this conversation, like, I'm not into that all Black against Africans. Like, I'm not part of none of that conversation. So you don't need to tag nobody that's in that world. You don't need to send this to nobody in that world thinking I'm making a statement on their behalf. This is not that. I am a neutral citizen to all of that shit. If it ain't rooted in God, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Okay? And God is not the author of confusion. So if you currently find yourself aligned with a sentiment or an organization or an ideology that is causing confusion, well, then there you go. That's the math. You know what I mean? So now all of a sudden, like, I'm seeing it from a lot of different angles, and I understand what it is on a spiritual level. You're really seeking our attention, not in a concubine, internet thought type of way. In a, loving, childlike, I really need my mother or father's attention and wisdom, but I don't know how to ask for it. And you know what I mean? And I see the potential, and I see the possibility, and I see the focus. I see all this energy in your direction. We know you're a lightweight, and lightweight is a light word, but you know what I mean? I like to stay as close to the center as I can, just to be modest. You know what I mean? All of that energy and attention is twofold, because there is a direct focus on us, because the world directly and indirectly knows that the real shit that's going to hit the fan is going to happen here. And they finally, for once in their lives, can look at America and be like, ha ha, that's what you get. Yeah, now you know what suffering is like. Now you know what real pain is like. And to that I would answer, that is a very low vibration, almost demonic type of position to take. Because I would never look at the situation in Gaza, or look at the situation in the Congo, or look at the situation in Sudan, or look at the situation in the favelas, or anywhere in the world where people are struggling, and say, ha ha, that's what you get. Chin up, chest out, boots on the ground, that type of shit, that capitalistic mindset. That only works when there's people at the top and people at the bottom. More people at the bottom and less people at the top. Let me clarify that. You know what I mean? So like, y'all, that negative projection, you guys are magnifying a frequency that can only be rippled back in your direction. This is why, the stuff that I'm talking about for the average person is woo woo, but I can imagine the people that are tapped in right now that are still listening to me, that vibrate and resonate with where I'm trying to take this conversation and have a certain level of understanding. Yeah, we are the grid stabilizers in the world. You're welcome. You know what I'm saying? We've gone through an alchemical process. On a certain level, it's been a 6,000-ish year experience. On a certain level, it's been a 500-ish year experience. On a certain level, it's been since the beginning of time experience. So I don't argue about land masses. Y'all arguing over America versus Africa, you know what I mean? Your lineage. My lineage is most high. Well, no, we mean your blood. Yeah, I mean my DNA. I mean the coding in my system, the coding in my mind, the coding in my heart, my natural inclination to righteousness, my natural inclination to love, my natural inclination to create, to be a keeper of knowledge, to represent that matriarchal, matrilineal conversation that we just point back now to you know what I mean? We point back 2,000 and 3,000 years ago, because now our 40 and 50-year-old females want to be hoes. Make it make sense. It's not a judgment, it's just an observation. It's all love, Jay. I feel you. You know, I'm just giving the flip side of the equation. Cali is too bright for Florida. I'm sure somebody in Florida might feel a different type of way. Peace, Antonio. How you doing? I voted for Trump. Good for you. I voted for Mateo. Great. Wonderful. Yeah, you see how when I talk about the algorithm, right? We got people in the chat room actually talking about Trump and talking about politics. I ain't really said nothing about politics. I don't care about none of that shit. They all work for Satan. So if you represent your team on Satan's roster, then and you're doing it loudly and proudly in front of the world, I mean, make it make sense. You could have said anything. You said I voted for Trump. So who is your God again? And even if it's a bot, because you know what I mean, like everything is kind of getting swept under the rug now, like it's a bot. Yeah. So this shows you and tells you what artificial intelligence is feeding into the algorithm. The bot could have said anything. You know what I mean? The bot could have said, you know, meditate more often. The bot could have said, you know, that's a beautiful environment. I love the green. I love the trees. You see what that's why I said Trump activated a certain type of frequency. They put the bots out into the world to train and program the NPCs. You know what I mean? Where somebody says one thing about one, you know, politician, and now all of a sudden the conversation is about politics. I don't care about none of that shit. They all work for Satan. Let's be clear. Do I pay attention? Yeah, because on the ground level, you know what I mean? This is how the game is being played. I'm watching the program. I'm in the game. I'm not on the sideline. This is a co-creating consciousness that's happening. So I'm speaking to some co-creators. I'm speaking to some NPCs. I'm speaking to some bots that work for some other people. And I'm speaking to some people trying to find their way. You all are welcome here. You know what I mean? Because only the light is going to get magnified. Everything else is going to wither away eventually anyway. You know what I mean? The sidewalk is right there. Why are you in the street? Because I'm a grown-ass woman. I do what I want to do. That's why. Much love, Michael. I appreciate you. Yeah, no white lines, exactly. Thank you, E-School, for, you know, keeping the vibration and the energy in a certain type of place too. Don't ever ask me why I do something in my video if I'm in the street or walking on the sidewalk. Everywhere I stand is holy ground. What was I saying? The point about the bots and the algorithm. It's a synthetic version of the original version. It's the law of attraction, right? The whole concept of the holographic field, the electromagnetic energy, you know, what you create expands. All they did was take that and reverse it and use technology to reverse it. You know what I mean? God is all. And now they're saying, you know, AI is everything. And if you don't get on board with AI, then you're going to get left behind. It's the new God for the NPCs. I find it fascinating. You know what I mean? I think this, I'm coming up on I usually don't drive down here. I don't think that's real grass, but it's much more pretty than normally the fake grass is. I got to give them their props because I hate to see that football field type of grass, you know? But if it's done right, and obviously in this environment, they're gonna have the money to do it right, then it's not really that big of a deal. Is that real? Hold on, y'all, let's see. Is this real grass or am I tripping? If it's real grass, it's like super perfect. Nah, that's not real grass, but it looks good. I know you guys got me on camera. It's all love, just admiring the beauty of your yard. It's not real grass, but it definitely looks like it. Okay, I got to keep stopping and checking in. It feels like it's getting hotter. I mean, you know, it could be the energy of the friction from the, you know what I mean? The naysayers coming up in my space. Not really though, but it's the sun is setting for sure. So the angle that I'm walking on right now is like really, now I'm definitely gonna cross the street here and walk on the sidewalk. The sun is setting. Oh, do I want to walk down this street though? Hold on, let me think this through, because if I walk down this street, let me see. Wow, look at this yard. Speaking of, got to be in a righteous state of mind to be able to appreciate the abundance of somebody else's blessings, not be a hater. You know what I mean? To be amongst people that have accomplished great things of great magnitudes and great beauty, and not be a hater. You know what I mean? So that's why I like walking in this area and walking amongst all this wealth and this beauty and this grandeur, because it reflects what the human mind and creativity is capable of, you know? Remove those ceilings. Why can't we have communities that we build up from the ground up, compounds and, you know, suburbs and areas that are specifically built for us, by us? And yeah, if you want to come, you know what I mean? Be a renter or something like that, you know, it's all love. You know, I'm not one of those people. I got you. You live? What was I saying? He's still mad. Or she. What was I just saying? Dang. See how that happens, right? Like real quick like that, right? Yeah, big time. Rolling up on me like that little homie. You know, I love nature, but you know what I mean? Give me 50 feet. But anyway, dang, I was making a point. Then you see how Satan works? I was actually making a point that I wanted to make, you know? I know I was talking about the beauty of the environment, okay, the landscaping, the nature, not being able to appreciate. Okay, so yeah, not being able to appreciate the wealth and abundance, but then the light bearers amongst us will know that a lot of people can't bear the beauty of your soul, right? The beauty of your light, the essence of your energy, the way you move people with your words. You know what I mean? The way you move people with your creativity, with your unique expression, you know what I'm saying? And so, and usually that ain't got nothing to do with money. Beauty of so-called black people coming together and not hating facts. You know, I have a question. Because everybody's saying so-called black now. And I know that why they say so-called black, right? I get it, the colored crayon aspect and all of that stuff. And I think, you know, if we said African, people might feel a certain way about that because, you know, there's a very large segment of our community that doesn't, you know, think that we are originally from Africa. So, but, you know, the so-called black thing, if you don't like the term black, which I'm going to assume you don't like because you use so-called black. So if you could choose the term, or if you, I won't say choose, What's the title in terms of us as a people? Would you, how would you express that? Instead of so-called black people. Because I can never bring myself to use that language. So-called black. I feel like that's, you know what I mean? Like, and I understand why people don't like to use the terminology black. But I also know that anything other than black is going to split the conversation and perspective into 50 different directions. So I'm curious. Pan-African. Okay. Anybody else? Salvo said I used to score crack there off of Rolando. Again, another one of those statements that you probably should have kept to yourself. That's not the type of shit that a bot would say. That's the type of shit somebody with very little self-awareness would say. So, you know what I mean? Come back to the light. Stay in the light, as Diddy said. You gotta use a king of NPC's language to talk to, not calling you an NPC. I'm just saying. My battery is on 20%, so I have to be mindful and keep that in mind. Okay, Pan-African, yes, the sun is so beautiful. Let me see it, let me see. See what it looks like when I get back to the bottom of the hill here. Great question. I use melanated instead. Mankind, honestly, I don't know. Chaos beings, original Black American. Brown, native, usually just say Black or African American to not start any conflict when talking to people I don't know. Love West Hollywood, Beverly Hills. Afterwards, you got to go to Erewhon or the One Hotel for a healthy drink. Oh yes, Erewhon is my stomping grounds. And there's actually one here in Studio City. Oh, this is a nice, let's cross the street and check this out. A nice construction progress. I'm on camera. I'm mindful of that all the time. I see you. It's all Gucci. Yeah, I got about $15 worth of bottles in my car too for Erewhon. So I got a free drink there waiting for me whenever I take it back. It's a nice, construction situation. Have to share that because I love to see new building, new expansion. Imagine if we had, instead of waiting for the conversation about gentrification to take place, which Oakland is one of the meccas of, if we chose a city to do a study on gentrification, I think Oakland would be a primary, very important city of focus. Not because there aren't other, major predominant black cities, but because Oakland is and always has been a major, major mecca for the economy of the Bay Area and California, right? But imagine if before gentrification took place or takes place that we, alchemize those environments and those situations and turn them into institutions and, actually cultivating and nurturing and connecting with the land. Is it not hot as heck out there in the southeast? It was almost 8. No, it's actually rather perfect right now. I think it's probably about 80 degrees right now, and it's cooling off. I had this conversation with my friend before. I asked why on any application they say Black or African American, but for white people it's just Caucasian, when Italian Americans were the rut of the white. No, this is not Oakland. I'm in the Hollywood Hills. So for me, when I in my introduction in ancient people, I look at, in the introduction, I reference Black, African American, African diaspora, original, native, Native American, Aboriginal, Aborigine, right? Asiatic, all of these different, Hebrew, Israelites, all these different sort of, terms and language that we identify with. Like, I'm comfortable with all of it. The minute you start standing around and arguing with somebody about how they identify, you are already out of alignment because you don't have no real power or control on how anybody experiences the world anyway. You can have a positive effect on them or you can leave some mud and some soot on them. through their experience with you. And most of you guys are leaving mud and soot on people trying to project or tell them who they are or what they're supposed to be representing. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had online and not, where people have the audacity to tell me I should have written a book about our people here in America first. Because they automatically assume it's just about Africa because there's some comedic, you know, symbolism on the front page. But I wrote a book about melanated people all over the world. But the real question beyond, you know, if you identify as African, African American, Black, or whatever, why would you in any world, in any reality, do anything except encourage and support me for actually having the audacity to create a textbook on ancient people and melanated people around the world in the first place? So I say, y'all can argue that shit and them semantics about whether we from Africa, whether we from America, but what's in your heart? Put that shit on a scale next to a feather and let's have a real conversation. And again, that's why I always say that people get the leaders they deserve. So when Black people took over a neighborhood years ago, what did you call it? What Black people took over what neighborhood years ago? Let's get at some context. And y'all bear with me because I'm trying to make my way up this hill. I don't have any water because I left my backpack. I didn't really plan this walk out. I was in this area already. Gentrified. Okay, so when Black people took over a neighborhood years ago, what did you call it? Gentrified. I don't understand. If Black people take over a Black neighborhood, if Black people took over a neighborhood, I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't know, I'm having a hard time grasping that. Because I don't even consider it taking over a neighborhood. It's just like any neighborhood we move into, we're adding value. And I know it's just language and semantics, so I'm not trying to make a big deal out of that. But like, you know, taking over neighborhoods, this is our planet. You know what I mean? If you moving back to Africa, cool. That's what's up. You know what I mean? But Spirit is not telling me to go back to Africa. Spirit is telling me that I still have work to do here. So while you're on your way back to Africa and you are fashioning and conditioning yourself to go there and have a wonderful life, please don't project negativity and negative conversation and language on us that are still here while you leave and go to add value to another space. Let's try to maintain some sort of decorum and respect for those of us that are still here finding our way and balancing out the frequency. Because I don't care where you go in the world, this is where the shit's going down. Now that's what the thought I was on before the little mutt ran up on me. You know what I mean? Try to, you know, almost had to square up with this little dude right here on live. Y'all saw it. You see how the devil works? He comes in the presence of the cutest little furry animals. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta have spiritual discernment, but stop projecting all that negative shit on us. And then at the same time, oh, your food is killing you, your water is killing you, your this is killing you, your that is killing you. We know all of that. We've been here. You guys have been so focused on what it's like for, you know, to across the waters, the experience that you have with America from your vantage point. You have no idea what it's like to live and sleep next to what we'll call Satan in his house. And neither do you have any empathy or compassion, which is going to be a big deal very soon. Because, you know what I mean? There's an energetic leaning and reliance. I know we can't see it. We can't quantify it with our eyes. I'm not talking about where the peak of the economy is, where all the money is going, where the natural resources. I'm talking about the highest form of natural resources on this planet, which is the vibrational resonance and potential of the human being. Over gold, over silver, over platinum, over lithium, over vibranium, over artificial intelligence, over Almost said a word, starts with a G. Find another way to say it. Over, I would say melanin, but then that would be counterproductive because melanin is a part of the equation. But I'm just saying, we like settle on all these little pockets of conversation and topics and just get stuck there. So again, in 2025, I just want to make sure, and I'm going to do this separate video because I'm going to read that whole video of what this alleged African woman was saying, talking about how black women and men in America are so ... Projecting all that negativity on a culture of men and a you know, I'll say race of men and a collection of men that are consistently battling against a lot of different forces that are aimed to try to keep them in a low vibrational frequency. We don't need you adding to the equation, Miss Africa. And I'm only saying Miss Africa because I don't remember exactly which country it was, but we'll get all that straight when I actually read the article. And anybody else that's representing that, all that finger pointing and projecting and negative projection and talking down on us and like I know you're not spiritually minded and spiritually aware. The alchemizing process has been in full effect here for 500 years now. Where you been? You say, who will make war with the beast? Who has made war with the beast more than the black people in America? Pick your term and title in terms of which one you prefer. I don't care. Who has made more war with the beast? I'm talking about spiritual warfare. I'm talking about overcoming in spite of. I'm talking about maintaining a connection with source, even in the midst of everything being stripped and robbed of you. Still reaching for the light. Y'all better stop playing with me. Stop playing with us. Everywhere we stand is holy ground. Exactly. The devil hides himself in the last place you'll look. Facts. I'll pay pay-per-view to knock you out, to see you knock out a devil. I would never, if I'm physically fighting with a devil, I am 1000% off my square spiritually. If I am on my square vibrationally and spiritually, they'll never be able to come into my vicinity. Very few empathize with FBAs. That's a language that I do not ascribe to because of a lot of the energy that's connected to that. But again, for me, it's about the people that are in alignment with a certain type of mindset and vibration and intention. You know, because people talk about what God really is, God in the flesh, etc. But again, you gotta qualify for that. Let me make sure you see my shadow in the video, but that's not good TV. I'm gonna start making my way up this hill, so bear with me if I have to pause. I'm almost back to my destination, and how long we've been going for, an hour and 18 minutes. Thank you so much to those of you guys for the super chats. I appreciate the reciprocity. My website information is in the description where you can get information. Oh, where you can get information on all my books. Let me complete my sentence, pardon me. Books, workshops, content, etc. My YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. You can get that from my website. I am setting up my next event for LA, which is going to be right around the first or second weekend in September. I'm just trying to settle on a specific day and date of one of those weeks. So if you're in the LA area, or if you want to just come to the LA area and vibe with us, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm in the right space, the right state of mind, the right vibration. The book is done. I flipped the paperback version of the book. It's a whole new version now. I'm getting ready to show that to you guys in a couple of days. It's just a lot of progress and creativity and expansion that has taken place. And the presentation, I'll say lecture. I used to didn't like the word lecture because I think at a certain point in time, especially in the conscious community, that word started to feel a little tainted and a little watered down. But I think now lecture is an appropriate word for where I am in terms of what I have to offer and what I want to talk about. So this is the lecture that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but you know what I mean? The situations and circumstances have to line up for that to take place. And this is the time for that. So it's going to be really dope. I'm going to have two separate ticket offerings. You can just come to the public event for the lecture, or you can come and break bread with me and have a delicious plant-based catered meal with me and a few other beautiful souls. I'll be announcing that in a couple of days. I stopped to catch my breath, so bear with me. Appreciate you, Goddess Zaza. Thank you for, it's been real per usual. See, it's not that hard to be nice, you know? And I appreciate you for that. Were you kickboxing back in the day? Yep. I was kickboxing. I played basketball. I played volleyball. I played softball. I ran track for half a second. But that was back in my weed smoking days, and I didn't have the air to keep it up. But you know, my track coach was really trying to, this was at John Marshall High School when I went to Oklahoma. I lived in Oklahoma City for a year. I moved out there with my godmother in my high school year of, in my 12th grade year of high school. And yeah, my coach wanted me to run because I'm tall. And, you know, when he saw how far I could go before I started to get tired, he really wanted to try to encourage me. He thought it could be a good 400 and 800 mile, 400 and 800 yard, right? I know I'm not saying that right. Yards, yeah. What, you know, y'all know what I'm trying to say. Correct me in the chat room, but yeah, no, you can't do that. You gotta, you know, the weed smoke was getting in the way. Meters. Thank you, Richie Rich.